It's the real news. I'm Aaron Mete. Years before he became president, Barack Obama got his start as a community organizer on the South Side of Chicago. Now, out of the White House, Obama is coming back to the South Side to build his $500 million presidential center. But Obama now faces a pushback from the same community he once organized with. For months, Southside residents have been holding protests. They don't oppose the center, but they want to make sure it doesn't cause gentrification and displacement.
And so we're here to make a stand to say that we don't want displacement to happen in this community. We don't want to see the jobs come from outside, be filled by people from the outside, and the people who live in here don't get a chance to work.
Southside residents have formed a coalition calling on Obama to sign a community benefits agreement, which, among other things, would help protect low-income residents from eviction and higher rents. Coalition member Paru Brown outlined their demands.
We are pushing for a city ordinance that would, one, set aside 30% of new and rehab housing for low-income and working families. Two, freeze property taxes for long-time residents. Three, require large developers like the University of Chicago to invest in new affordable housing. And four, independently monitor local hiring.
But Obama and his foundation are refusing to sign a CBA. The former president recently told Chicago residents why.
And the danger here is that if we sign an agreement with any one organization, or two organizations, or five organizations, I've lived on the South Side and in Chicago long enough to know that they're not representing everybody on the South Side. So now suddenly I've got five other organizations that are saying, hey, how come you signed with them? What about us? And then you got 10. Oh, I just formed an organization. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And next thing you know, you've got 40 organizations or 50 organizations. Everybody has their own organization saying we should have say, control, decision-making over who gets the contract, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, Obama's plans have now taken a big step forward. The Obama Center has just won approval from two city commissions and the full city council, moving the project to federal review. But Southside activists are not giving up their fight. Jawanza Malone is executive director of the Kenwood Oakland Community Organization and a member of the Obama Library Southside CBA Coalition. Jawanza, welcome. Talk to us first just about the struggle that you've been involved in for many months now and the state of it now in the aftermath of these city votes moving the project forward.
No, thanks for having me on, Aaron. For the last 2.5 years, actually, the CBA Coalition has been working to craft a community benefits agreement that involves not just the Obama Foundation, but also the University of Chicago and the City of Chicago. And all the turmoil and excitement around President Obama himself, people forget that the University of Chicago is actually the entity that wrote the bid that was awarded to get the presidential center on the South Side of Chicago in Jackson Park. And Mayor Rahm Emanuel had said 2 years ago that he was willing to move heaven and earth to make sure that it happened. And that's what we're seeing happen. Over concerns raised with city councilmen, over concerns raised by the community, particularly where the money is going to come from for the infrastructure changes that the foundation is calling for. As you said in your intro, the city council and a quasi-governmental appointed body has voted to approve the plans moving forward. What we've been asking for is very simple. We're asking for a legally binding agreement to ensure that residents do not continue to get displaced from the area, because we've already seen displacement taking place. And so without a clear community benefits agreement that protects low-income and working families, who is the predominant population in that part of town, we're going to see mass displacement of people, unfortunately.
So Obama himself has been pushing back very forcefully against this notion you're putting forward that his center would cause displacement. And I want to play more of what he said to Chicago residents at a recent public event.
So there are going to be some people who will not be happy and are not going to sign up for every single aspect of this project, which is it is the nature of a project of this size. But here's the thing, is like, you can never make folks 100% happy. So we want to be open, we want to listen. We are going to be fairer than fair, to quote Harold Washington, in how we approach the design of this presidential center. And the programming that's involved is going to continually evolve to meet the specific needs of the community. But at some point, we're going to get going.
That's President Obama, former President Obama, saying we're going to get going. Jawanza, if you could respond to that, and also what he outlined in that clip we played earlier, where he says that his problem with a community benefits agreement is that if you sign an agreement with one or two groups, then you're going to have many more groups demanding, sprouting up, demanding that they make an agreement with the Obama Center as well.
Sure. So let me start by saying, later in his most recent presentation to the community, the former president also said that gentrification is not an issue that we need to be concerned about. And I think he said that perhaps Malia's children would have to deal with that issue, but not us. And so that assertion, as well as some of the comments that you played for your viewers, we disagree with. A simple look at the data will indicate that the Woodlawn community in particular is gentrifying. And when we look at the impact of just the announcement that the Presidential Center is going in Jackson Park, we see the impact of real estate speculators coming into the area. Just last year, Redfin, one of these trade associations that conduct studies on property value across the country, found Woodlawn to have the third highest increase in property value for neighborhoods across the country. And so if we think about that for a second, right? You take every neighborhood in every city, in every single state in the country, the predominantly African-American, low-income community of Woodlawn had the third highest increase in property value. And that's a direct result of, again, this speculative market banking on increased interest in the area as a result of the Presidential Center coming. And so what we've been calling for consistently is an ordinance, right? When you look at the construct of a community benefit agreement, you typically have a developer, you have the community, and oftentimes you have the government or some entity coming in to make the agreement legally binding. That's the same thing we consistently have been asking for here. And so we did the hard work of engaging hundreds of residents in the community surrounding Jackson Park, where the center is being built, to find out from them what it is that they needed to feel safe and secure, to protect them from displacement, and to ensure there's long-term benefit. It produced a document that has 6 areas of focus. And we went to our city council, our elected representatives, to say, look, we've done the hard work. Let's go the rest of this course together in partnership. We engaged the University of Chicago in that same conversation, as well as the Obama Foundation. And they chose not to take us up on it. Now, again,
Jawanza, why do you think that? Why do you think they chose not to engage in the CBA?
Frankly, I don't know. I don't want to speculate. as to why the parties involved have chosen not to hear the community's concerns and wishes and fears and do something different. I do think that the fact that it does force a higher level of transparency and accountability has to be something that's being considered. When we take into account all the promises that have been made in the city of Chicago from elected representatives as well as others, and those promises not being brought to fruition, this smacks of the Chicago way, the same old thing that we've seen time and time again, and hopefully that's not what's happening here.
All right, so we'll take a break there and come back in part two. My guest is Jawanza Malone. He is Executive Director of the Kenwood Oakland Community Organization and a member of the Obama Library Southside CBA Coalition.